Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella come in, he said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, you know, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.
Hey everybody, welcome to Truth Proof. Sunday night, sun comes round again, doesn't it? And I hope you're all having a little bit better weather than we're having here in Bridlington, because it's absolutely throwing it down. But we're not here to talk about weather, are we? So, as always, please put some questions in capitals for myself. I'll be talking with Ian tonight. I think you're all familiar with Ian. Comes up onto cliff tops, so we travel all over the place, delving into things of an unexplained nature, as you guys know, and hit him with some questions, and, you know, just we'll answer them. Well, we probably won't be able to answer them, will we? We're not going to give a definitive answer. And anybody, as we said many times, anybody that says they can, ignore them, because I don't think anybody's got a proper handle on what this great unknown is. I really don't. But let's just have a look in chat. I see Martin's in. Doc Martin, Carl, Dan, Stargazer, Zen, Michael Turnbull, Patrick Daniel. Let's have a look. And come on, Stargazer Return. We've done that one. Lee's doing moderating. I don't think Gemma's very well. Well, I know she's not. Pete's in. Good to see you, Pete. Hope you're feeling better. Henry Dale, Gareth Dixon. We'll do a few more bit of a name shout out in a little bit. But Saltwater Rabbit. I've never heard of one of them, but all good. Dave K. Is that Dave K who's been mates with me for about 40 years? I think it maybe is. I don't know. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But if it is, good to see you anyway. Martin James. And if Jimmy Norton comes in, what did he say to our Laura last week? Because I've not seen him for about 40 years. Your dad doesn't look like he's got many haircuts left, Laura. And he's right. Andrew McConnell. Let's have a look. Yoggles, all good. And right, we're going to jump into it. I'm going to bring Ian in. Basically, we're going to try and answer your questions and just talk about a few things that have happened in this strange and unusual area that we find ourselves spending a lot of time in. So I'll bring Ian in now. Hi Ian, how are you doing?
I'm good, thanks, Paul. I can't see you, but yeah, good.
Oh, well, we can see you, mate. I don't know what's gone wrong with your camera. You can go in and out if you want.
I'll maybe try to, because I can just see me with very little haircuts left at all.
You've got no haircuts left, but you, what it's done, it's just sucked it all down to your chin, I think.
My head's on upside down.
Yeah, no worries. If you want to just leave and come back, it's good, and if that sort of connects your camera up, it's up to you.
I'll do that, because it makes it awkward, because I'm just sitting here talking to myself like I usually do, but never mind.
Yeah, well, no worries, all good. So you do that then, and let's see whether that works.
All right.
It worked 5 minutes since, so it should be okay. So, guys, what you been up to? I mean, I went up to Speeton last night. You're going to have to leave, though, Ian, if you want that to come back on.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll just remove you for a minute and let Ian just do what he's got to do. And that's where you can see if he can get this camera up online. But I'll not know whether he's got online, will I? Unless he gives me a thumbs up or something. But then I might miss it because I'm just talking away here. So we went to Speeton last night, myself and Chris Mack. Apart from it being freezing cold, and we said hello to everybody when I put that little bit of a film on about the strangeness at Speeton. Nothing to see, nothing to experience. So 3 hours just walking about in the darkness. How sad are we? But you've got to do these things. But I thought while I'm waiting for Ian, assuming he comes back, I hope he does, we'll just talk about a few reports that I've had over the years. And I've got one from October 2023 here. And remember, we want some questions in capital letters, please. And this involves a UFO over Filingdales. Sent to me by someone from the Truth Proof live stream, October 2023, that they saw it, October 30th to be exact. And they were returning from the Whitby Goth Festival, and they decided to camp on moorland that surrounds the area, but not a sort of intended camping place, but that's where they found themselves. They had in fact taken the wrong turn and went through the village of Slights and on towards Beckhole and Gothland. And beautiful place. If anybody's ever been up there around Gothland and Filingdales, it's absolutely stunning. It was around the area of Gothland in the early hours that they saw a black triangular craft rise up from the ground. I mean, this when you think about it, people, this is in really close proximity to a sensitive RAF base, RAF Filingdales radar station. So surely they would have picked that up. Surely they would have found evidence of something. I really don't know, unless it was one of ours and it's there just to be testing the area. I don't know. Let's have a look. It roused up from the ground. They told me that it hovered silently for a few minutes at an estimated height of around 60 feet. So it's pretty up close and personal, isn't it? Then it shot upwards again, adding that it stopped one more time and shot off into the distance at incredible speed. Let's have a look. Is there another one? The entire event happened in complete silence. What do you think, guys? Have we got anything that can do that? Obviously, we wouldn't be privy to it if I don't know, our scientists and our tech guys had developed something like that. But surely we'd be seeing it used at some point now. Right. It's difficult for them to accurately say how big the triangle was because it was on open moorland, making it hard to see any reference points on the landscape to compare it with. Kind of makes sense, doesn't it? You know, even if you've got a little tree, you can say like it were 4 times bigger or whatever, but obviously difficult. You know, we were on top of cliffs at Speeton yesterday, and it's absolutely bleak. And just in middle of nowhere, in middle of this desolate bleakness, there's one tree clinging to life right on edge at cliff top. Like I made a little joke to Chris about being like that bonsai tree that they got in Karate Kid. And I had no intention of trying to get it, by the way. It's just an old thorn tree. The craft had no visible markings. There were, however, several orange incandescent lights on its underside. The triangle was very close to RAF Filingdales. With it being near, they questioned whether it could have been military, and I think I probably do. Same. I think we all would. Their reasoning was that no sign of Ian yet. Their reasoning was that they felt sure such an important military base would have been able to pick up a true unknown on radar. Yet nothing else flew over to investigate during or after the event. Right, what do you think? Do you guys think that was something that had managed to evade detection? Or do you think it were man-made? I know we're only sort of surmising, aren't we? I mean, a lot of what I'm talking about tonight, I wouldn't say a lot. I would think 99% of what anybody on podcasts do and anybody who contributes to a podcast does is anecdotal. Very few people are actually showing us anything that's genuine bona fide evidence of true unknowns. Let's have a look here, see if there's any questions. Right, Dave K. Let's have a look. I looked all my life at the age of 64. I have never seen anything. So it's not the same Dave K, but hey, there's not wrong with that, Dave. I think we're all looking. Do you know, like I said, we go up there at least 3 times a week into these areas, sometimes 4, sometimes 5. And I would think that the bulk of the time we come away not feeling deflated, but you think to yourself, that's nothing. Not seeing a thing. It's absolutely been a waste of time. But then you get that one night or that one occasion where something happens and it makes it all worthwhile, you know. So all I'd say is just keep looking. Let's have a look. I think we'll try Ian one more time, see whether he's here. Can you see me?
Yeah.
That's lovely. Here we go. So we got that little Filingdale story out. I don't know whether you probably didn't hear it if you were messing with computer, did you?
Messing with it. If I could have strangled it, I would have done.
Yeah. Well, that's computers for you, isn't it? You can't strangle them though, but
you can
it's difficult, isn't it? Throw it through a window is the analogy I'd give. But there you go.
Well, it was colourful in here. Let's say. Yeah.
So we've got this. So I've just read a report from a October 30th, 2023, about a triangle that was seen very low, 60 foot in air, well, rising from ground, and they saw it at about 60 foot over Filingdales while they were camping, or very close to area of Filingdales. So I've just thrown it out there. Do you think it's military? Do you think it's something otherworldly tech? What do you think?
How could we know?
Hmm.
I mean, it's every possibility it's military tech, but there's every possibility it's from, it's something else from somewhere else, or maybe even from here.
I tell you what, frightening prospecting, isn't it? We keep saying, is it ours, or I do? Is it ours? Meaning, is it sort of some kind of craft that's been developed by somebody on our side, should we say? But what if it's an hostile nation that's put it out there and it's evaded detection? That is frightening, isn't it?
I mean, if it's an hostile nation, then what hope is there? I mean, we can't even send a rowing boat to Cyprus, can we?
No, we'll stop there. Right, so how big was the Cosford UFO incident triangle? I don't know. I think Jason Gleaves is the guy we need on for the Cosford incident, because I'm sure that Jason witnessed that. It'd be good to look Jason up. Anybody who doesn't know what he's about, he does a lot of work with analysing UFO photographs and other things. Look at Ian on Guinness. Superb. No, but it's alcohol free. Is it alcohol free?
Yeah.
This is one for me. This saltwater rabbit's probably got a sense of humour. That yes. Do you get many little people sightings? You don't mean me, do you? Because I'm only 5'6". But we'll assume that that you are being serious. And are you talking about things like the Fae? I don't know. I don't know what you mean by that saltwater rabbit. But
well, if you remember, a few years back when we used to frequent that top stand quite a bit, 2 or 3 years ago now, we quite regular, all of us had seen from time to time small, like shadow figures that was like maybe they say the size of a toddler and seeming to be running like the speed of toddler was. So it was moving, but not very fast, always on the path. Go up the path towards Speeton, and sometimes it'd come down. And then when you mentioned it, other people would say in the group, yeah, I've seen that a few times myself tonight. Just think, is it my eyes playing up? And then eventually it's, we've all admitted to seeing it, whatever that was. It was only small.
And I like it, the fact that a lot of times we see these things, I don't mean as 8 or 9 people, but as a collective, 2 or 3 people at the same time sort of erupt into, wow, did you see that? There's no like, did you see that, Ian? And there's a little pause, and Ian says, yeah, I saw it. We know that happens, but there are other occasions when we've all seen it and everybody's a bit animated. I mean, I don't know how many months ago, but Amanda came up and there were Jack up, and Jack's looking at the cliff face near New Roll Up, I think it was, weren't it? He's looking at the cliff face, and he's literally saying a light's just punched out of the face of the cliff. But we believe Jack, and he's not somebody who's going to romance about things, but what made it even more interesting was that he's looking at the cliffs, Amanda's looking out to sea, and he'd not even finished his words. The light's just put, as Amanda's saying, there's just a light's just flashed in the sky in front of me. So it's almost as though it's come out of the cliff and she's seen it. I don't know, opposite end of I don't know, east, she's seen it west. Do you know what I mean? It's fascinating, isn't it? And I like things like that. It just corroborates and helps people, even though we're doing, guys, is everything's anecdotal, isn't it? We're got to struggling to get the actual proof. Although Ian's got that incredible footage, I've got some amazing footage. We were looking at a bit of it this week. In fact, we're going to be talking. When is it, Ian?
I think it's the 18th and 19th of April.
18th and 19th of April at the Sci-fi Festival in Scarborough. And I've resisted this, guys, probably for 10 years. They've asked me every year. And even if you ask them tonight or if they're in, they'll tell you that. But I thought, yeah, why not? It's in Scarborough. They're giving us a room where we can talk about the unexplained, and talk about some of the strangeness, and maybe people local to area or even further afield will just share a bit of information with us. So I think it might be a good exercise. It's a weekend job, isn't it? So it should be okay.
Yeah, it's the Saturday and the Sunday. I think it's 10 till possibly 10 till 5 and then 10 till 4, I think. I mean, it's on their website. If you look up on just the Scarborough Spa, you'll see it's like Sci-Fi weekend thing. There's all sorts of bits and pieces. I mean, to be fair, like I said to him on the phone, I'd never heard of it before.
No.
Never heard of it before, but obviously you have. But just going back to the light that Jack and Amanda saw, I remember that well, because how Jack described it was a nanosecond of him seeing it that Amanda saw it.
Mm.
It did, according to Jack and Amanda, it came possibly out the cliff for Jack, and Amanda, it disappeared out into the distance.
Over the sea.
So it gone in the same direction. It gone from west to east straight.
Yeah, I said east to west, but west to east, spot on. And I wonder, Ian, because we're sort of making a lot of these, or we're talking about them a lot, these flashes of light, because obviously optimum time to see these flashes of light is in the night. I'm wondering how many people are seeing these, and they're that brief, and it's that sharp and fast that you don't even give it the attention it deserves. Now we're looking for them now, and we're seeing them. You saw one yourself a few months ago, and I've just got your reaction to it. We haven't got it on film. Chris Mack saw one 2 weeks ago, and I've got Chris Mack's reaction to it, which is similar to yours. So it's fascinating. And I think more people are doing them.
It's a strange one, because I mean, we went through a stage a few years ago where we were seeing really little tiny speckles of light in the fields, in the grass. Sometimes there was a distance away, and sometimes it was fairly close. That seemed to sort of like steady away, not really peter out. Now and again would see it, but I mean, Jeremy used to see them, I don't know, 3 or 4 times a night he'd see them. I think Mark's seen them on quite a regular basis. We've all seen them. And then it upped its game to the time, that we was visited by the light, which was absolutely fantastic and spectacular. I mean, regular people who come in here will have heard us talking about it, bleat on about it, let's say, because it really did have a profound effect on everybody in the team. And I must say, it was a very good feeling for me, and I think for everybody else. But the last time I saw something as bright as that and in close proximity, it didn't have the same effect on me. In fact, it totally had the opposite effect on me. It's daft and big and daft as I am, I'll say it scared me.
Yeah, you said at the time.
I can't get my head around it, why it scared me. I mean, you'll maybe cover that, because you've got a little bit of me talking on film not long after that happened. Unfortunately, we didn't have a camera set up because it was a slightly different place on the cliffs where we usually go. So it was literally just near a bench against the railings. Mark was leaning with his back against the railings, his back towards where I saw this thing. But anyway, so we didn't have anything set up to catch that, really.
Well, we've got some fixed cameras, but obviously they're not in right position to catch it. You're right. And like you said, and there's no shame in it, it frightened you, it unnerved you, which is an odd thing when you consider that last year when we got visited by that light. Doesn't it sound weird saying visited by a light? That it felt brilliant. There were the 7 of us. I know Michael Turnbull's in chat, and he were there.
Yeah.
Chris Mack were there. And
Jack.
That's what's good about it, Ian, because if there were, we know it's only once again anecdotal, but if there were a chink in the story, these people would expose it and say what they're on about. But everybody's as animated as we are about the incredibleness of what we experienced, because we've looked at it for years and years now in the distance, within 10, 20 feet, these flashes of light. But this was with us. Yeah. Quite special, really special. We'll come to that in a minute, but I'll just have a quick look here. We've got Christopher Chris is with us. We've done saltwater. We've got Rocket, Mia Girl. I think you know Mia Girl, Ian, don't you?
Yeah, that's my mother.
Yeah, Edward Epton, Andrew Wild, hello, Mia Girl, and Henry Dale. And let's have a look. Highfield, just Martin James, and right. Let's just we'll throw this on, and then we'll have a look at that. What you were just talking about. I should think that non-believers would say that is just Earth-based tech. Yeah, and I can't argue with that. To be honest with you, Welshman, I really can't, because it could be. At the end of the day, it could be, but on the same lines or below it, we could be saying it could be something non-Earth based as well, because we know that there's things out there that aren't man-made tech. And I always jump back to John Hansen's triangle sightings from early 1900s, and I don't think we were looking then.
Before the Wright brothers had flown as well, wasn't it?
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The Wright brothers. Right, we've got a few questions here. Let's just put these up here, and then we're all part of the same frequency. Cryptids, aliens, ghosts, just on different platforms. Yeah, I'm not going to argue with you, Gareth. You know, we I don't know whether he's in chat, but we had a guy visit us on Cliff Tops of probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, Michael Pennock, and what a story Michael's got, and I know he's going to come on and talk about what he's seen and experienced. I've touched on it a few times, but Ian, first time Ian had met him, I mean, I spoke to him for years, and what did you think?
It was very good. I mean, we finished up filming him for well over an hour, and he was just captivated listening to him. I mean, the experiences that man's had throughout his life, and one of his children who was with him, who's now 19 years of age, come across very articulate, and he just agreed with everything. Well, this story just agreed with what his dad had told us from 2011, and it to actually be there and witness it yourself. It must have been absolutely terrifying to witness what they'd witnessed.
Absolutely. So, and it's shaped him, hasn't it? In one way or another, it's shaped him. So, you know, I'll reach out. He spoke to me in week actually, and I just had a few words, and we'll see if we can get him on maybe next Sunday even, and see what the score is. So let's just have a look here.
Yeah, it'd be very good.
The ordered release of the UFO files. There's a major panic attack at the top of the Pentagon. People at the top are saying they know what these things are, and it's paralyzed them with fear. They can do it. They can't do it. And yeah, I suppose I wonder what the fear is, though. Zen, do you think the fear's the fact that we will then have a bit of that power? We'll have a little bit of that knowledge, and it might. I mean, I'm only surmising, and I'm probably way off mark. But if we get some of that knowledge and show that these unknown others are just as interested in Ian and as you, Zen, and everybody in chat, and you're just as important as the people that consider themselves the most important beings in the world, in government, in higher echelons of power. I mean, they don't want to give that kind of knowledge up, do they? They don't want to give that kind of power up. I don't know. Just another little way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Or
I think the wheels have come off in more than one shape or form throughout. Financial, religious, everything. It potentially could cause absolute chaos, couldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Paul, cheers for changing my address earlier. You're welcome, Chris. And it'll be on its way to you tomorrow, mate. You're welcome. Let's have a look here. I experienced a time slip in 2020. Oh, please get in touch with me about this. I love these stories. Morning after seeing 2 black entities on a road in front of me. On my way home the previous night, the paranormal is one and the same in my experience. Yeah, Adi, it's fascinating. And so you saw the entities the previous night, and then the next morning you had a time slip. We all want to know. We want all ingredients in between. Obviously, Adi, don't try and type it now, because there'd be too much and we might not get to it. Before we do all else, you heard Ian talking about that light that he saw what would it be, Ian? A month ago?
It'd be a little bit longer than that, because Pete was Pete was still was up there with us.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the effect on him that it sort of unnerved him and frightened him a little bit. Well, 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, I were on cliff tops with Chris Mack. We were doing speeding on a Saturday night, 7-mile walk. You've heard me talk about it. We saw a figure on way back. I mean, last night we walked up again and kind of reenacted it a little bit just to see how far away it was. We put the torches on. We knew where we'd seen it, and there's nothing there. And I got Chris to stand where it was and his comparison to the post, and we can't work it out. It couldn't have gone anywhere. But on the way back after that, Chris sort of banged me on arm and says, "I've just seen a light on cliff." Now, what I find interesting, because I haven't downloaded or got on here tonight, Ian's reaction as in the fear, but I can assure you that's what he did say. But I've got his reaction to the light and Chris's reaction to the light, which is totally different, as in different locations and at least a month apart. And I think they're remarkably similar. And even not the location, but even the sort of the outcrop of rock and grass that comes out, it's not the same, but it looks the same. So I don't know. So I'm going to put Chris's on, and it's on. Chris's lasts about a minute. Ian's is only 30 seconds, and we'll just play with that for a bit. I realise we're just talking anecdotal once again, but let's just do this. Seen a flash of light on cliffs. I'm going to turn my light on.
It was down the cliff.
There's nobody down there.
The bulbous bit.
Yeah.
It was inside that.
Right. It's almost like a confirmation of what you're talking about. Shall we just hover here for a minute? Because we're not going to look over edge, are we?
100% there.
I'm not going to put a light on and expose it. There's nobody down there. Let me assure you people, there's nobody. And Chris knows this, don't you? But they do have an habit of repeating themselves, these things. So if we leave this camera on...
It's a bright flash. Little, like a I'd say maybe like a mobile phone.
And obviously when we set off here, I'm going to put a torch on to show you exactly where he means. Well, that's similar to what Linny saw.
The cliff, yeah, it wasn't on the field. See where the choke is?
There.
It was like there, that area.
Yeah, so he's just seen a light flash up there. Once again, guys, you've only got our word for it, but you're looking at 350 foot to... So you've just heard that. When you looked at that, Ian, looks like where you saw it, doesn't it?
Yeah, very similar. I mean, for people in the audience, because I couldn't see very well anyway, because what I'm looking at now is quite a small screen. I ain't going to mess with it because it'll probably lose it again. But what you've got is the cliffs aren't just bang straight and flat on the top. In parts they are, but generally it comes down at an angle. So you've got soil, mud and whatever at an angle here, and then the cliffs. Whereas looking at that, where Chris has seen it, it's on this angled part just above the chalk. And that's very similar, and it looks nearly the same. Sort of like, I don't know, a mile and a half further down towards Bempton way is very similar. The cliffs are nearly the same. And what I saw was wasn't on the cliff, it was on the grass bank above the cliff. I mean, if you ever got down to that bit, there's no coming back from there because it's at a right angle. So it's whatever it was, it can't have been. Well, it wasn't a person. Well,
when I said, Ian, there's you're spot on. There's no way back up, but also most of the year there's water around the bottom of those cliffs. I mean, where we were then, it's close to where the submarine is, and you can get to that a few times a year on a very low tide, and after that you're cut off because there's just to let you guys know, there's the remains of an old submarine down there. Right, so this is Ian's reaction, but it's a bit shorter because I didn't put that where you felt fearful. I didn't know you were going to say that, but we'll put this up.
It's there, and when I saw it and I turned around and it was there, and I was like, "What the?"
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Whatever it was, I shouted it, but I expected it to stay up. I didn't see anything move. I just saw it come on.
Yeah.
It just switched on. Wasn't a flash. It was just there.
Seen a flash of light on cliffs. There we go. I'm putting that one back on. Sorry. Interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what it was is like I was saying earlier. Was lent against. Well, Mark was lent against the fence, maybe 6 foot in front of me, and just out. I mean, I'm just looking out to sea. So Mark's here on my right hand side. I just caught some out the corner of my eye, So when I turned and looked, it was just there on that, like I explained earlier, on that grassy part. But it was so bright. It was as bright as what we'd seen up when we said that we got visited by the light. It was really, really bright. There was no light coming away from it. So it was just an intense white, bright light. And I just looked at it and I stared at it. And I'm looking, and then when I shouted, I mean, I must have stared at it, I don't know, maybe a second and a half or whatever. And as soon as I shouted, it went off. It just went off. And then the more I thought about it, straight after, when we couldn't see it, I started becoming quite frightened. And the only way, I mean, it's quite, it's a month or so ago now. And I keep thinking about it. Why did it unnerve me so much? And the only analogy I can get to anything close to it is if we're stood there on the cliff tops, let's say, and I presume that you've come up behind me and grabbed me on my shoulders to scare me, woo, boo type of thing. And I've like, yeah. And then I look round and you're 50, 60 feet away. So it can't be you. So it was like a double hit. It shocked me. And then the fear of, well, why did it shock you? If that sort of like makes sense. It's a difficult one because I've seen and been frightened up there, on a few times now, and I've spoke about that. But it was a different type of fear. It didn't seem it was that was making me scared, but something made me scared, and it did make me scared.
It's strange, isn't it? And I think it's good to sort of reveal those types of feelings, because some people wouldn't want to talk about it, would they? Some people think, I can't say that it frightened me. I know that when Ender Danes died years ago, probably 10 years ago with Steve Ashbridge, I just said, I'm frightened and we need to go. And I don't know where it come from. But it's good because other people, somebody might be walking those cliff tops, Ian, as you know, and they might get in touch and say that I had the same thing. And then we can build a picture, can't we?
You see, pretty within, I don't know, with a minute or two of me jumping up and down, let's say, and quite excited about it, because Mark, in his words, he says, I wouldn't shut up for 10 minutes or so going on about it. And then straight away, Mark says, do you want to see it again? And without hesitation, I just says, no. Now, if it had been that light that we'd seen come around us before, we wanted it to come back because that felt really good. That was really good. But this, whether it's the same thing, it certainly looked the same thing. But maybe, I don't know what it was, maybe 40 feet away. But it didn't, the feedback that came back from that certainly.
See, I've wondered if, I've wondered, or thought about what if it's the same? What if these things are all one in the same and they're just doing things to gauge different reactions? I know we don't know. But the great footage that you obtained the first night that you had your thermal camera, and I know people, we've gone over this and over it, but we talk about these things when we're out. We keep going over it, trying to make sense of it. And we mentioned it today, and myself and Jeremy walked off because we'd seen a green light in the distance. And Ian had seen it, you'd seen it, hadn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I think we all saw it.
Ian stayed and messed about with his thermal. But what if we were never supposed to see that object that was there on that hillside? What if the green light was some kind of, I don't know, decoy to distract our attention? We know it's a bit of a what if, and I'm building things on top of building things, but what if it didn't realize Ian's got a thermal camera? I don't know. There's got to be, there were a strange sequence of events there where we went to look at a green light that we presumed was a head torch that never materialized. So we wanted to check somebody were okay. We all saw that. There was no one there when we got there. So something had to be projecting that light for a reason. It took us away from you. And then you mess about with your thermal. You catch this object on thermal. I'm not sure you were ever meant to capture that. That's my gut feeling. I don't know.
I mean, because obviously we talk about this a lot, even, we're not on a live stream when we're, anywhere we're walking about or whatever we're doing, we talk about it. And I think you're right. I do believe that it was some form of distraction. You know what I mean? Look what the left hand's doing while the right hand's doing something totally else, and you was focused on that. And yeah, it just seems odd that I'd only had that thermal camera, not even 12 hours, and this happens. But we saw that that green light thing again a few months back. Do you remember when me and you was on top of the hill in the background?
I do, yeah.
We saw that moving about, but I think Chris and Carl also saw it, didn't they? And went down to investigate it. So again, there's nowhere. It can't be a person just wandering about because there's nowhere for them to go unless they can fly.
I mean, whatever it is, and I'll throw this out at you guys as well. Like there's 370 people here. It's playing to the audience. It's populace. It's audience, which is us. It seems to be because Mark will say it, and he's quite right when he says like he's got all those cliff tops, miles and miles to the right, miles and miles to the left. Front, North Sea at the side of us, and yet it chooses to interact with us. But is it ultra? Oh, don't do this again. It keeps asking me to update. I'm going to end up pressing the wrong button, and we'll all go off in a minute. But it seems to be playing to us. But is it ultra intelligence? Is it only ace card, should we say? Because there's probably different intelligences interacting with mankind. Is this one's ace card? Its ability to just evade cameras, evade that kind of detection, yet show itself. Because all we're doing up on this platform now is talking about things and not showing a great deal. I mean, we could have shown Linny's footage and a pile of footage I've got, but you've got to take our word for it, because I think you'll find that a lot of people who claim that they've got the answers just don't have them. I don't know whether it's ultra intelligence or it's ultra stealth with whatever it is we're dealing with.
I mean, someone came up with the idea it's like a dog, innit? If a dog comes up to you, wags its tail at you, and it wants you to stroke its head, most people will stroke its head. Some dogs will come up to you with the intention of biting you. Some dogs won't come up to you at all, will just run off. Don't matter what, how mean you are to them, let's say, not that I'm ever mean to a dog. But some people are, but they'll still follow them, won't they?
They do, and it were Rex, a friend of mine, that said that. He said, they come running up to you, wagging the tail, and they haven't got a clue. Yeah. They haven't really got a clue, and you're talking to them, you're saying, different human beings are saying different things to the dog, and it doesn't know what you're saying. It knows if you're happy, it can sense that vibe, but it don't really know what you're saying, does it? Do you know what I mean? Come with me, I'm going to steal you, kind of thing, or jump into my car. Half the time they would. But I don't know, I sort of kick the idea around with the certain elements that we're dealing with up there. Is it intelligence or is it super stealth? It's still unknown phenomena. Let's just put this up, Ian. Christopher Withers. Paul, have trawlermen seen submerged vehicles or lights beneath the sea? Yeah, they have. Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how many listen to this. I know some of them do. And I didn't talk about unexplained phenomena, but I had a chat with some fishermen a few weeks ago on Harbour, Tom Quinn and a few others, and we usually talk about the unexplained. Although Tom's not seen lights under sea, but they've seen and experienced things. But some of them have, and I know there's a trawler, and I think it's based in Bridlington Harbour, that actually came up alongside of a glowing object underwater, beneath the waves, and actually hit it. And I don't mean had an accident with it, but actually felt its presence underwater. Get in touch, because I know this. I know it's the reality because of people who've told me. So I'd love to hear more about that. And I know that the bait diggers at Wilsthorpe back in September 2009, I know that they saw triangles entering the sea, black triangles, which is interesting. And I've spoken to a fellow who employs them, and I've spoken to one of the guys who saw them. So that's interesting. And I'll tell you what, don't validate story, Ian, but what makes it a little bit more interesting is the boss of the bait diggers openly says you can put chest waders on and wade out on a calm sea and wade out where these things entered water. So it don't make sense, does it? He's killed his story, but he's telling truth. So what's happening there? If you can put chest waders on and wade out because it's a long flat beach, and these things have entered water in the kind of distances waded out. What's happening? I don't get it.
I knew you was going to say that because it's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, where there's hardly any drop off on the South Beach, it goes a long way out, and there's hardly any depth there at all. So yeah, you're absolutely, that fella's bang right there. So how could something fairly large just drop into the sea without colliding with the seabed?
Yeah, well, it should do, shouldn't it? But I mean, I think he'll be about 6 foot tall, so he'd only be looking with chest waders on at about 5 foot, 4.5, 5 foot of water. So with triangular shaped object really should just be stuck in sand. But it's not worked like that. And he's quite adamant and quite happy to tell that story as truthful as he can. Not saying it were out in deep water, thinking they'll believe this. He's saying it, and it shouldn't make sense, but there you go.
That makes it more believable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think this will be. I haven't heard this story, but I think you spoke to a guy called Mike, didn't you? I know Mike, and I'm yet to speak to him, and he'd seen something interesting, hadn't he?
Well, he's seen
timber yard.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, he's seen something very, very interesting. I mean, as soon as I mentioned it, he knows exactly. It was sometime, I think it was February last year. He said he was on the cliff tops at Soby, which is just on the outskirts of Brid. It's not as far up as we go. And he said he was up there walking his dog, middle of winter time, being February. He said it was absolutely crystal clear night, could see all the stars. And he said, I was just stood there, just admiring the view, taking it in, and basically, how lucky am I to live in such a, lovely place. And he said he just looked up, and he said there was this, his words was like an enormous rectangle shape in the sky, slowly moving out from the land towards the sea. And when you looked at it, he said it was just all twinkling, like loads of little fairy lights underneath it. But he said you could see through it. You could see the stars through it, if I remember rightly. He says there was no sound. It was just silent, and it was just slowly moving out to sea. And he was watching it. And while he was watching it, his phone rings. So he answers his phone. And before he could say out, it was his wife to tell her. His wife saying, I'm just unloading the car in Bridlington. I've just looked up and I've seen this thing that's moving out to sea. And he says, I know, I'm watching it now. I'm looking at it now. But the only difference is how she described it to him. She said it looked like a flock of geese flying out with no noise, all in a great big square shape, elongated. And what she could see looked like their underbellies. You could see like the whites of their underbellies just going along. And apparently, I mean, I don't go on Facebook, but apparently there was something on Facebook that quite a few people had seen something in the sky at roughly the same time on that evening. What that was, I mean, you really need to speak to Mike and get him on camera with that, because to me, something of that size must have been absolutely fantastic to see that.
It's interesting, isn't it? And how are you describing that, or how Mike described it to you, as being able to see through it? You know, so what I would flip that and say, could he see through it, or was it the object himself trying to put the stars, the effect of the stars onto itself to mask it as it's flying? Do you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, if it had been stationary, you'd have maybe never noticed it unless you saw like one of the square edges.
Yeah.
But he said it wasn't going fast, but it just went out, and he just watched it. As far as I remember, he said he just watched it go out and further out to the sea until it was gone.
Yeah.
And he said it was absolutely amazing. But yeah, he knew the date straight away as soon as I mentioned it to him.
So we've got a few people to talk to. I will try and make efforts to speak to Mike. And a guy called Roger Gilbert rang me this week. He'd been on holiday, and he said he'd ring me when he got back. So I'll be contacting him this week, and I want to set up a little interview with Roger. And this is the guy who was a musician on the ship. I think it was called the Contessa. Oh. And whilst on the ship, people on the cruise reported seeing in the ballroom a London bus. just literally flicked on and flicked off in the middle of the ocean. Do you know there's going to be people listening to this, not reading it? Come on, get out of shit, Paul. There's going to be people listening to this thinking, what are they on about? But how bizarre can it be? And apparently it happened on a few cruises, but only on this ship. So, so he's got his diary, he's found all the information, and he's going to sit down and, it's just going to be a sit-down interview. We can't replicate any of that, can we? But
it was a cruise liner. It was a cruise liner, wasn't it?
On the
Caribbean.
Yeah.
So
Caribbean.
It wasn't so many people with so many shandies on the Yorkshire Bell.
No, well, no, it don't sound like it. But you just, when you think you've heard something, I mean, where does a London bus fit with a cruise liner? You know what I mean? It's just nuts, absolutely nuts. But we'll get Roger's take on it. We'll throw it out there. But you know why I want stories like that is because somebody might have been on that cruise and said, "I saw it." That it validates Roger. He's telling stories. He's giving us this account, and he said, the ballroom, there were loads of people in it. It had been seen, but on more than one cruise. So
you see, when you've told me that story in the past, my way of thinking, the only rational thing I can think of is it something that's trying to fit in, trying to mimic, and potentially a lot of people that was actually in that ballroom at the time are very used to seeing London buses. It gets it wrong. It appears as a London bus thinks I'll fit in, and then everyone's reaction to it, oh, I've got it wrong, and disappear and maybe come back to something else.
I don't know. It's a giant leap into unknown, that one. Yeah. Let's just have this. Let's have a look here. Liam Wilkinson. Hi, Liam. Hi, Paul and Linny. Have you ever found that certain kinds of weather affect the phenomena you see on the cliffs? Rain, wind, whipping up, storm here in Donny, storm in Donny tonight. Yeah, we've had a bit of rain here, to be honest, Liam. I know one thing. I'll let Ian lead with that one.
Well, only last week, because we've seen stuff. We've been, as you know, we've been out in the snow, and stuff has been picked up on the camera on the snow. We've seen stuff in the fog. Multiple people have witnessed things in the fog. As for the rain, sometimes we just have to make, we're trying to get out the way and make cover. But only on Wednesday, we didn't go up there on Wednesday because it was fairly rubbishy, and we had quite a lot of hailstorm, little bit of snow, rain, and it was windy. So I went round to Paul's and we messed about editing a few little bits and pieces and just generally looking at footage. But Mark, who lives in Bempton, he decided just to have a ride out in his van to see if we was daft enough to be up there. So didn't see anybody in the car park, so he knew we weren't there. So he turned around, and on his way back up Cliff Lane, he said the hailstone got that heavy and that thick, he said he couldn't see. So single track road, he's not doing any harm. So he said, I just parked on the hill, on Cliff Lane, while the hailstone subsided so he could see what he's doing. And he said he's looking out his right-hand side towards, which is the back end of the former RAF Bempton. So it's a lot further inland from where the main part of the old structures are. So while he's looking over to his right out of his window, he becomes aware of he said it was a strange colour. It was like a red-orange glowing light that was just there. And he said he was looking at it, and he said it seemed to get brighter and brighter, and then dimmer and dimmer, and then brighter and brighter. He has his binoculars with him, so he puts his binoculars up. He's watching it through his binoculars. He couldn't make head or tail out of it. There's not a road there, but there is a farm track at the back of this. But where he was seeing this, there's no track there. And he said he'd clearly be able to see if it was a vehicle. It's just one single light. And at one point, he seemed to think it was possibly someone in the field with some sort of IR illumination, hence the slight red glow. But he said it just seemed too bright to be that. And he watched it for a couple of minutes or so, and he said it just got smaller and smaller, like it just faded back into nothing. And that's in It was thundering up here, and quite heavy hail.
You know, even if you were out there with, as you were saying it, Ian, and I'm sure people in chat will think same. Even if it's somebody with an infrared bit light, you know, having a spy around somewhere they shouldn't be or whatever, you wouldn't be up there in that hailstone. I mean, he's looking out of his side window. That's important to note, people, because he said he thought hail were going to go through his windscreen. You know, and he can see this light. So it's interesting. I mean, we missed that. So once again, the guy talking about the weather, the strange weather phenomena, or not strange weather, the unusual weather phenomena, rain, mist, and everything. We're not really bothered now. We know fans are getting wet, standing in rain, but we don't shy away if it's thick with fog, because things happen, you know. And let's have a look at what this. It's not so much a question. Stephen Collin, hi Steve. Excuse me, J.D. Vance said earlier this week, UAPs are demonic entities. Okay. I mean, I'm out of the loop when it comes to looking at news and looking at podcasts. I really am. So I'll take your word for that, Stefan. And, you know, I dare say you'll be right. But isn't that telling us something? Ian and everybody else, isn't that telling us something if we've got, men in higher echelons of power coming out and saying things like that? It proves that they do know something, but probably what they know frightens them to death because they've got no control over it. And I think that's closer to truth.
They won't have it, but I mean, that's only unless he could sort of like put his cards on the table and say, I'll prove it to you, and this is how. Then that's only his opinion, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, when I wrote Night People, I know I wrote in there, I don't know whatever it was that I saw in childhood, whether they were aliens or demons. I just don't know. There were no messages conveyed saying, you know, we're from Mars, or do you know what I'm saying? I just don't know. And I'll just do that while I'm on, because Ian normally mentions it. If anybody's interested, I'm going to have to make a little advert to do this because it's embarrassing. Anybody's interested in the Truth Proof books, truthproof.uk, they can all be ordered through the website, or they can be ordered via Amazon. Not Amazon, they can be ordered via eBay. You can get the Kindle versions of these books on Amazon. And the DVD that myself and Les made, Wolflands, Amazon Prime as a download, or truthproof.uk or eBay, and you'll get it sent out the next day. And I say this every time, that's the best cryptid-related film that's been made. And I would say that because I've made it, but there's 3 years of hard work gone into that and some incredible witnesses. So I'm pretty proud of it, and I know Les is. So my little rant over. Let's have a look at this one, shall we, Ian? Let's have a look. Chris Bravo. Have you seen the recent interview with Ross Coulthard? He claims to have visited a portal to another realm. Wow. I haven't seen it, Chris. I don't know. I know you watch a bit of YouTube and things, Ian. Have you seen it?
No, I've seen it. Has flashed up, but I didn't click on it. on it. I maybe should have done. I maybe will do tonight because I generally watch it when I go to bed and put timer on, and then I fall asleep watching it.
Yeah, well, as I say, it might be worth looking. I mean, I got a link. If you're listening to this, Professor, you sent me a link today. I will be watching it, and I hope to speak to you in the week. I'm looking forward to that. So thank you. And that's all I'll say until I know a little bit more. Let's have a look at this.
Ross Coulthard does some really good stuff. It's good to watch. Yeah, he does do some good stuff. So could be credible.
I don't really read these questions. I just see caps, so I hope they're good. 101 Moff. Hi, Paul. Were the witnesses to the Hummanby incident debriefed, warned by the military personnel after the night accumulated 1998? Can the guys remember what was said to them? They were basically told not to talk about what they'd seen and experienced. And there is more, but, I'd probably end up getting Andrew on here. And because I'd feel more comfortable if it came from Andrew's mouth, if he wanted to share any more. Well, I've given you guys what I've been told, and and if there's any more that I know, I'm not holding off on you guys because I think it's some kind of clever thing to do. Thank you. So I'm not holding off on you guys because it's some clever thing to do. I just can't get any more. Can I just leave Ian to deal with this for a minute? 1 sec, please.
I'll just take off from what Paul was saying then about the incident at Hummanby. I mean, I'm not versed in all of it because obviously I know a lot of the story, but there's a lot that Paul can't talk about, and for various reasons, people they don't want him to talk about certain aspects of it, and some of the people that was involved in the roadblock, they was frightened by it, which, as you can imagine, you get pulled out your car by people in black clad uniforms, like paramilitary style, let's say, and tell you that's it. You've got to. We know who you are. We know where you live. We know what you do. You haven't seen anything. Keep your gob shut. So you can understand it that these people don't want to come forward and say any more, really, because of fear of they might get a knock on the door, or it might not be a knock on the door. It might be pulled out the car, let's say, when they're going shopping or anything. So yeah, there's a lot going back to Hummanby, and eventually Paul will be able to tell you more. I would have thought.
Yeah, eventually, and it's not some kind of game that I'm not wanting to spill the beans. I've just got to respect people's privacy. And Andrew, one of the main witnesses, or he's to this day still can't quite believe what he saw in that flying saucer, and he says it can't be real. He still says it. Even though military sort of grabbed hold of him, shook him about, warned him, threatened him, he still can't believe. He thinks it was that kind of staged. Why would they do that at back of a compound in the little outskirts of a village in it's North Yorkshire. We've slipped over into North Yorkshire, haven't we? But
yeah,
I don't know. Everybody likes Hummanby because it has all the ingredients of something really special. It really does. I mean, we talk about the Penturk. Kaz Clark talks about Penturk incident, which is incredible, and she's done some absolutely amazing work. We'll have to get Kaz back on. But Hummanby started 3 years before the event, literally, with all the poltergeist activity, the coins materializing out of the air, the jars dropping in front of them, the gravel, so many aspects, so many things that were happening before what we would call the main event. And I'm not saying that they always knew they were building up to that, but I've got to say it stopped after that. It stopped after the landed craft. Fascinating.
I mean, just some of the little parts of it. Do you know what I mean? Like the grave marker, and then the coins, the interaction with the coins, the footprints on the cars, the great big shadow figure that, in all intents and purposes, looked like a Bigfoot. All in itself, all them little parts of it, a fantastic account. So then how it built into what it finished up being, as far as we know what it finished up being, because when they weren't there, what else could have happened there? Anything potentially could have happened. But I seem to think that one of the witnesses seemed to think that what they was looking at might not have been the big picture. There might have been something else happening in the other direction, which they never got to see that.
Yeah, that's true. But, you just touched on that. The footprints on the cars, huge footprints, barefoot footprints, bigger than a human footprint. Now, Ian is probably 18, 19 stone. I reckon if you climbed up onto bonnet of my car and then onto roof and then onto boot, if it had a boot, there'd be some kind of dint. And these footprints were huge, yet there's no damage to the vehicle. No damage to the vehicle. What's that telling us? What is it? Something that's sort of just partially in and out of our sphere of existence, but they're enough to create a footprint, or it's mashed my head.
Or was it just to sort of like let them know? Yeah, I mean, I'm here.
Or did they have an alien with like a little footprint in his hand, and he's just going around over the car with it? It's just nuts. It's crazy, isn't it? But it's, once again, Hummanby. I think if you wanted to work on Hummanby, and I know all of the witnesses, and I know Ian now knows them all. You knew them before. There's one we've never named, and we won't. I think you could sort of work on Hummanby and nothing else. And blow it into something like Rendlesham Forest incident if you wanted. But I've got that many people just filling my head with information that I just can't concentrate on Hummanby. You know?
Yeah, 'cause Rendlesham Forest was went over for a few weeks, didn't it? Whereas Hummanby's gone over it went on for years, didn't it?
Years. And it culminated with a landed craft. Yeah,
Yeah.
just absolutely crazy. Anyway, let's move from Hummanby temporarily. Let's have we've done I don't know if we've done this one, Ian. Have you heard the recent? We visited a portal. It's just someone else. No, it isn't. No, we've just done that one, haven't we? Oh, yeah. Another realm might explain some of your. It's come up. I don't know why they come up again like that, because I've not done that. Thank you, Liam. Very kind of you. Let's have a look. Right, let's have a look. Do you think the sea is creating a charge for the craft to make use of? Could be, Benjamin. Let's touch on that heat signature, Ian. The cliff. Below the cliffs, yeah.
I mean, I can't. We talked about this when Chris Turner was up here last week, and Jerry. Again, it was just. I looked to my right hand side, down where Staple Nook is, and there was a massive heat signature at the base of the cliffs. It wasn't like a structured heat signature, so it wasn't like square or round or triangle shape. It was literally like the shape of the inlets in the cliff that was glowing. But it was partially under the sea, and it was in about 3 or 4 different places, but some of them was a lot bigger than the other ones. But the strange thing is when the sea, I mean, it was a big sea that night, so them waves was going maybe 25, 30 foot up the cliff face. You could see the heat through the wave, and when the wave retracted, sometimes the actual sea itself was warm. So it's like there was no steam, there was no hissing or anything. The only thing I can think of it be is when you've seen on telly lava flows under the sea, or when lava goes off the land and plops into the sea. No doubt around that bit, the sea will be partially, for a small period of time, a little bit warmer. And this is what it was doing. But this was mid-winter time on the northeast coast of England, and the sea's bloody cold there. It shouldn't have been happening. So, I mean, I filmed it. We've got some reasonable footage of it. You filmed it, got some good footage of it. It hadn't done it, as far as I knew, up to having a thermal camera. It might have done it. I'm nowhere to know. But now, when I turn my thermal on and we're in that area, I always look down. And it hasn't done it since. So why would it do it then?
You make a good point. I mean, the waves that night, they were a rough sea. They're smashing at the side of the cliffs. You're not seeing... they're not going to create heat, the waves in the North Sea, but you're not seeing that excited energy or any difference in the coloration, what the thermal camera is giving us. But in that particular area, you're seeing it there before the big waves hit it, but then you're seeing the wave carry the heat out under the water.
That's right.
Just for a moment, I'll have a look for it in a minute. If I can find it, we'll put it on. I'm not saying I can, but you remember a few weeks ago, people, that I put that image, that shot up about the triangle, or I assumed it were a triangle in a cloud, or with a cloud around it. And it created a bit of debate. I knew it would when I put it on, because we were looking at it, and it's like looking at the moon and taking a picture. And when you're looking at it, it looks the size of a dinner plate on a good full moon, and you take a picture and it looks the size of a pea. When I were looking at this cloud-shaped object, I could see a triangle in it. Much further down, I mean, people are saying, oh, it's venting from gas rig. Ian, it started a long way off, didn't it?
It did, because, I mean, we're stood up there. My bag of my equipment was to my right-hand side. We're on a bit of a platform. You said you'd look at this. You'd been watching it for quite a few seconds. And as soon as I saw it, it was definitely triangular shape. So I'm trying to keep my eyes on it while I go to my bag to get my camera and everything out to start filming it. And when I got back, when I managed to start to film it, yeah, no doubt about it, it does look like it has the potential to be a cloud. But the strange thing is there was no black clouds anywhere in the sky. It was the blackest thing in the sky. And looking through the comments, because I'm glad you brought this up, really, because reading the comments after you put that short film up, people saying it's the gas rig that's bent in this, it's doing that. For quite some time, it's to the right-hand side of the gas rig. That gas rig from where we're stood is approximately Tolmont gas rig, it's called. is approximately 28 miles away from where we're stood. This thing was to the right-hand side of that rig, and it slowly moved over the rig and then to the left. But while it did that, it was flanked by two smaller ones. The first one that was on the right-hand side wasn't there to start with. And you can actually see it in the full footage. It starts to appear from nothing and then gets maybe a third the size of the other small one that was to the left-hand side of it, which stays fairly constant. That disappeared. But to see a small black cloud appear and then disappear, it would be strange in itself. But the main one, the big one, yeah, it does look like a cloud. We can't say for 100% definite that it was a cloud or that it was something else.
Well,
but unfortunately, at the time, unbeknown to us, you had your Psionics camera on. You wanted to get your other camera on, so you passed that to Steve. So when you looked back at your footage, you thought the footage had gone, it was corrupt. But I believe you've managed to get some of the earlier footage that didn't go onto this, make it onto the short. And I think you've found that now. You'd be able to present it now, hopefully. And people can see what it looked like to start with before it started. Whether was it morphing into something else or was it just a cloud? How can we say?
I filmed about 30 seconds of it and must have stopped recording and then started again. And for some reason it got left on camera and I found it today. So I've grabbed a few frame captures and then I'll have a look, I'll work on footage later. So I'm going to put these frame captures up because they're a little bit different to what I put up in the short, although you've got this inference of a triangle in the footage I put up a few weeks ago. Have a look at these frame captures, and most of these are from lower down before it got to the gas rig. There's only about 6 or 7. And you don't have to agree, people. You don't have to think, oh, God, they're saying it's a triangle, so it's got to be. It's not looking at it, eyes on it, it looked like it to me. So let's have a look. Just a few frame captures. There it is. That's the gas rig. We'll pull back on that. Hold on. Let's just pause on that. Oh, I'll let it go through. Sorry. Let it go through again. It's huge because the lights below are a gas rig. So what do you think? You know, I mean,
it's up to the audience themselves, isn't it, really, who look at it and they can make their own minds up what it is. I mean, we can't say for definitely what we believe it potentially is. But that gas rig, like I said, it's 28 miles away, approximately. And it's not very big, that gas rig. It's maybe, I think, looking on the internet, it comes out something like 34 metres square and possibly the same in height. I'm not sure. But for that to be that size, that must have been absolutely enormous.
And there's another bit we've not added. It were moving against the wind.
It was, yeah.
You know,
I mean, where we was, it appeared to be moving up. I mean, 28 miles away, the wind could be doing something.
Yeah, altitudes and everything, wind can be different. I get it, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, it's odd. I mean, how many times have we seen something like that? And I mean, I spoke to Pete earlier on. I mean, yeah, he's on the road to recovery. Is Pete now, and hopefully in the next few weeks, a month or so, he'll be rejoining us on the cliffs. But Pete said to me this afternoon, he said, we've seen that before. And I'm like, and he said, you've forgotten, haven't you? And I was like, well, yeah. He said, we've seen it above Filey. And he said, we've seen it above that gas rig. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. But we haven't filmed it. No. But now you've got that on film. So is it a cloud? Potentially it could be.
It's got some straight edges for a cloud, and I didn't see it as that. And I think everybody knows me well enough that I'm not jumping about looking at satellites and saying, look, we've got some true UFOs here. That was just a little bit different.
No, so there would be absolutely no point in doing that at all, would there? Absolutely no point.
If you come to Prince Edward Island, Canada, in the fall and watch along the south shore, you could see the famous ghost ship, the Phantom of the Northumberland Strait. Wow, interesting. And it's no different, I suppose, salt water, to the people who claim that there's aircraft that fly around Carnaby, and I think there's one that flies near not Foxholes, Fridaythorpe. Old prop planes people claim to see. What's that then? What do you think that is, Ian?
I mean, unfortunately, in the war, there was loads of aircraft came down in training accidents in the Fridaythorpe area along the walls, as well as, coming back from operations with battle damage, etc., and pilot error. Some of them, bless them, because obviously there's a lot of trainers, a lot of hills. But for something, possibly, if someone can recreate a sound from something that horrendous had happened, but when people see something structured, I mean, how does it work? I mean, let's say, for instance, an horse and carriage with a headless horseman riding it. How does that work? Because it's not just was formerly a living thing. It's the harnesses, it's the carriage, it's all the horses, the man on the back, everything else in it. So it's like a full recreation of multiple things to be recreating something that was, it's not just a feeling.
Mm.
So it's, then
so are we creating the phenomena? So are we, in some instances, are we creating it?
Even the clipping and clopping of the hoofs, the hoofs on the floor on that. Yeah, it's strange. I mean, a pal of mine, he's got a workshop. I'm not going to say where it is, but he's got a workshop on a former airfield, and he's been there for years. He said one night, I mean, he works some really silly hours. He'll sometimes start repairing something, and he'll be there till 2-3 o'clock in the night, sometimes getting on with it. And he says one particular night, he said he came out just to stretch his legs. I think he'd been painting. And he says he's mooching about, totally in the dark. And he said he just literally walked 20 feet one way, and he said he heard aircraft engines, heavy aircraft engines, really loud. And he said, I'm just stood there thinking, where the bloody hell is that coming from? And he said he walked back towards his workshop, and it stopped. And he said then he walked back. He said you could walk in and out of this sound. And eventually it just stopped. And he said it's never done it before. It's, as far as I know, it's never done it since. But he said it was just like walking into the sound from nothing. It didn't fade. It just stopped and started. And that's strange.
Isn't it? So many things we don't know and don't understand. There was a guy walking the cliff tops at Bempton probably about 5 years ago, Bempton to Flamborough in the night, which not as the sound of engines, but he'd been to Skinwalker, and I'd put him in touch with George Knapp, to be honest with you, because he wanted to have a few words. So he'd been to Skinwalker, he'd been to that Garbutt Hill forest looking for the strange, obviously, had no experiences. And the only one that he got was when he went to Bempton, and that was just a sound. And he walked along cliff tops, and almost a directed beam of buzzing hit him in the ear. And he stepped back, and it weren't there. Stepped forward, it was there. Stepped through it, it had gone. Turned round, it got his other ear. The left-hand side kind of thing. So strange. What is it? And I don't know. Is it playing with us? Is it? Are we just fortunate when we're seeing it? Are we highlighting this in all of this phenomena? And it's just the fact that, such as Speeton, where me and Chris were walking, such as those Bempton cliff tops, Ian's been up there enough years now to know that on a night, unless the fishermen are there, and that's few and far between nowadays, there's only us there. There's nobody there. We don't flash torches all over, do we?
Very rarely. I mean, only when you was up there with Chris Mack on the Saturday, when you saw that figure that appeared to be stood against the railings, and you both shone your torch on, you could see it, and you believed it was potentially a farmer or a person, even though, albeit a large person, a big person. You briefly told me about that, and then on the Monday we was just walking down, and we got down the path, and it did feel edgy. It felt a lot edgier than it had done for a long time. Whether that was because of what you told me, so that was in my mind thinking, wonder whether it's going to be up here tonight where we are. Well, we got so far down the path and we turned right and we're walking along, and there was this sound in the background. I ain't going to try and replicate the sound, but it was an unusual sound. And we both heard it. We both stood there and we both listening. And I said to you, what was that? And you says, I don't know. So we could hear this.
Flipping, I think I said flipping.
Yeah, I think, yeah, something like that, yeah. And depending which ear I heard it in. But anyway, it stopped. And I was just about to say to you, I think it's time we summed it off, because I was, I mean, it was a strange noise. And then we heard it again. And then it turned out what it was a train in the distance that must have been doing some sort of heavy braking. And then you could hear the wheels rumbling. But up to that point, to me, yeah, it sounded really strange in that, and it might have been time to disappear back to the opposite direction.
That tells us, doesn't it, that a lot of these things are explainable. I mean, a lot of what we're seeing. And we've sat here now for an hour and a quarter, and we've talked about strange things. There'll be some great questions from people in chat. But, you know, in the time that we go up there, most of the time it's uneventful. There's not a lot happening. But we must have been visited probably in the last 2 weeks by at least 12 to 15 different people who don't come up there often, probably once a year, twice a year. And they've all got things to share. I know Carl and Sarah come up quite often now, but there's other people that you just see them, well, you've never seen them before, and they come up and they've got little stories of their own to share, but not necessarily from area. But everybody's looking for answers.
I mean, while we're on about that, I mean, Dominic, who comes up, I mean, he's from Sheffield, and they have a caravan down the coast towards between Bryd and Hornsey, let's say. So throughout the summer, when they're at the caravan, wife and kids, when the kids go to bed and whatever, it's okay with his missus. He sneaks up and comes and spends a couple of hours with us lot on the cliffs. Well, unfortunately for him, a few weeks, well, it was more than that now, a couple of months back, he came up one night and he actually got there maybe half an hour earlier than Weed was there. He got 3/4 of the way down the path and felt absolutely frightened to death. And he turns up in the dark on his own with no torch on. And he said, I just felt absolutely scared. He said it felt blacker than black. He said it just really didn't feel right. So I turned round, went a lot faster up the track than he came down the track, got in his car and went. And then while we're driving into the compound, your phone rings, and it was Dom, and he rung you up and he explained, and he says, was you going up there tonight? And well, yeah, we're here now. And he says, well, I'm so far on my way home now. And he told us what had gone on, and it had frightened him. To me, if you feel frightened and you don't want to be there, go with your gut instinct, turn around and go. And he was on his own. But he has been back up a couple of times since, and he's explained it. And he said, I properly felt scared. So, I mean,
it's strange.
Without seeing anything, what was all that about?
Well, it's no different to what Mark experienced, to what I experienced on Ender Danes Dyke. I got a report a few years ago from a guy. He'd got his, not a rally car, he'd got his day car, and he'd bought a little Nova or something like that, and he'd like to sort of bomb it around Forest Roads in North Yorkshire, up around Broxton and place Darwood Dale. And that's what he did. He'd after work, he'd take this car up. I dare say sometimes with his friends, but on this occasion he were on his own, and he'd gone up one of these they're not dirt tracks, you know, the logging roads, and there's just trees and darkness either side. And when he got to the top of it, it were tight. It were hard to turn round, even with a little car. But suddenly, and he's inside a car, but he took the time to email me this experience. He says, I just got this overwhelming fear. He says, and I don't thrash the car when I'm riding round in it, because it's all a bit knobbly and stuff, and you don't want to puncture or blow a tyre out there. You know, that is not a real rally, is it? He says, but the fear, it was terrifying. He says, and there was something telling me, not words, get out. I don't want you here. You shouldn't be here. Get out. He says, and I'm used to driving around in night. I've done it months and months, if not years, around these forest roads. But on this occasion, the fear overwhelmed him from nowhere. He says, and I managed to do a few little shunts and wiggles, and I got car turned round. He says, and then I floored it. It literally got to get out of there. Absolutely frightened him to death. Where did that come from? You know, places that you're not normally frightened.
It's a strange one, isn't it? I mean, it's only someone's word, isn't it? It's only someone's story.
Everything's someone's word, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can't catch everything on film or on audio, can you? But it's their word, and why would someone make a story up like that?
Well, it came with that one, you know. It's just crazy. As fast as you're hearing something unusual, you hear something even more unusual. There's a place jumping away from that. I think it's called, Andy will correct me, Andy Barmby, if I'm wrong, but I think it's called Old Wives' Grave, and it's up. I think it's up near Port Mulgrave, up along coast, and there's stories from fishermen of seeing apparitions and shapes of people down on the beach when they're fishing. And one of Andy's mates went down there fishing. Nobody there. It's not some great expansive beach. If you imagine picturing North Landing and Flamborough and that cove,
yeah,
it's not that, but it's similar. And there's nobody there. And he comes off the beach and climbs up the cliff, because there's no sort of lovely paths and stuff here. We're really in the middle of nowhere. When he turns around, he said, there's a figure of a woman in white waving to him. And she'd not been there. She had just absolutely what? But it's not just that, Ian. It's that there's an acknowledgement.
Yeah,
that's the strangeness I find.
There's a lot of interaction there, isn't there?
Yeah,
I mean, what's that about? I mean, that's a weird one. It makes you wonder if it had gone back down, what potentially could have happened. I mean, you hear these stories. Excuse me.
All right.
In America, where people hear women's voices and children's voices in the woods, and the further and further they go in, the noise, they can never get closer to it. And then you hear people saying, if you ever hear that type of thing, don't go into the woods, because you potentially somewhat blowing you in, and you might never come back out. Is it somewhat similar to that? You know what I mean? If he'd have gone down, would he have slipped? I mean, I read a story years ago, very similar type of thing on Beeford Strait. It must have been in the 50s or the 60s. There was a guy coming down there on his motorbike, and there was a woman just walking up the side of the road in the direction he was going, towards Beeford. So he stopped, asked her if she wanted a lift. She never said a word. She just got on the back of the motorbike. So fair enough, she wasn't talking. So he carries on going down the road. And then she put her arms around him and slipping her, if I remember rightly, she was slipping her cold, icy fingers into his jacket. Sort of like down his top, up his top and whatever, and absolutely terrified the hell out of this fella. So he just slammed her all on, stopped to throw her off, and she was not there. There was nothing there, nobody there. So gives it loads, gets into the village, straight into the pub like he used to do, told his story, white as a sheet, and the locals laughed at him, and they says, that's the white lady. The white lady of Beeford Strait. Yes. Whether it's true, I don't know. I read that a long time ago.
Well, I bumped into the guy in Danes Dyke probably just before Christmas or just after Christmas. We got talking. I always try and sound people out, see if they've got out to share with me. And he told me the story about his dad coming up Garbutt Hill. Garbutt Hill, and there'll be some people in chat who'll know what it is. But it's very steep anyway. It's a real steep hill. Got a few points halfway downhill if your brakes fail, so that you can run into like a sandy area to slow you down. But he's coming up Garbutt Hill. I think someone tells he was in an Opel Manta, so it's a long time ago, and I think he's in 1980s. And suddenly he starts to feel cold. His car stops for no apparent reason, and then he claims that he's covered in hands, cold hands all over him. Not just one or two hands, hundreds of hands. Absolutely terrified him. When this stopped, he got his car started again, got to the top of Garbutt Hill. He was sick and sort of nauseous, felt terrible. So what's it all about? What anybody got to gain by coming out with an account like that? I don't know.
I mean, there's been some quite big tragedies on that hill.
Yeah.
There's been numerous car crashes and incidents. Not so long back, within the last 25, 30 years, there was a bad accident there with a minibus. But I seem to think there was something back a long time ago, possibly in the 30s or the 20s. A Charabang, yeah. That got down there and couldn't stop. Also, at the top of Garbutt Hill, there was it was a plane from Rufford, just the other side of York, that was on a training exercise in the night time, and actually flew into top of Garbutt Hill, and it hit a milk truck. A guy from Hull was driving the milk truck. He got killed, as well as all the crew. And there's a memorial on the top of Garbutt Hill, where it's in a lay-by, but that's where the old road used to be, I believe. And that's roughly where this happened. And there's a memorial there, and you can look that up on the internet, whether it's out to do with the crew from that, the people from the Charabang, or absolutely nothing. Who's to know could ever say what it was?
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah. Let's have a look at this question here. Christopher Withers. Paul, do you think we have a Skinwalker Ranch situation where they discovered what they thought was a beacon which guides in UFOs? I don't know. You know, once again, I don't think the people at Skinwalker know. You know, it's nice to say that they've discovered a beacon, or they think they have, and they may have done, but basically, it's only a play on words. It's an area where UFOs appear and UFOs seem to materialize or come in and out. But I don't think that they're seeing and experiencing as much as what potentially is happening around the East and North Yorkshire coast. I really don't. And it's easy for me to say that. You'd think, oh, people will be saying, well, you would say that because that's where you're doing all your research kind of thing. But I really don't think there is as much happening. Some of the things we've caught on film, some of the things that our witnesses are talking about, honestly, when you look at programs, no slant on these programs, when you look at some of these programs and you see what they're showing as some incredible bit of evidence, I just have to shake my head, to be honest. Anyway, I mean,
it's not just us, is it? Yeah, we are up there on a very regular basis, and we have been for a considerable amount of time. But it's the other people that turn up, like you said earlier on. There's people come from all over the place, and most of them have got a story to tell. Or I mean, it's not just because they've seen your show and they're interested in what's going on. They're looking for answers themselves, or they've come to visit the area and something's happened, and they've experienced something. And apart from watching your show, they've got no association with you or me or anybody else who goes up there. So why would they come up and say, well, this has happened to me, that's happened, I've experienced this, I've experienced that. And some of them, I mean, there was one particular story, his wife badgered him I badgered him in the end into telling us the story. I mean, a couple came up there, it was last year now.
Are we on about the shadow?
Yeah, and I heard her, because he was still maybe stood out 5 or 6 feet away from him, and his wife said to him, "Are you going to tell him?" And he went, "No." And she went, "Go on, are you going to tell him?" He said, "No." She asked him a couple of times. So me being me, I just says, "Are you going to tell us what?" And he says, "Well," and she says, go on, tell him." So he told us that he'd been up there, I think it was a November time, on that particular area where we was. And he says him and his wife was just there. They walked along. And he says on the right-hand side, he could see what he thought was a person. He said it was as he used me as an example. He said it was as big as you, so it's a very small shadow. And he said it just moved across onto the right-hand side like it was a person walking. And then he said it just went. And that was that. So he said he didn't tell his wife to start with. He just says, "Come on, I think it's time we left now." So she agreed. They went back to the car, got in the car, and as they was leaving, if I remember rightly, he told her what he'd seen. He said, "I'd seen this big shadow thing mooching about on that decking," and it's unnerved him, let's say. But the other thing that's strange is, I think it was either that night or very close to that time, the son who lived with her, I think they live on a farm, said he saw a shadow of like what he thought was a person on top of one of the buildings.
I don't think it was a shadow, actually. That I think he said he saw the shape of a person, didn't he? On the roof. Yeah. I don't know how long afterwards, but
yeah,
they couldn't work that out. And he told his mum and dad, didn't he? You know, and I don't think he was a young lad. He weren't like a 8 or 9 year old.
No, he wasn't a young fellow, was he? I think he was like a working age, if not older. I mean,
not that has any bearing on it. I've got a question here for you, Ian. Let's have a look at this. And I know what they're on about, but I think you will. Are the specks less than a sec? I think we're talking about the specks of light here. I see from time to time, some in the air and some at ground level, Mark Anderson asks.
Some of them are. You just look around and it's there. And it seems to be that when you focus on it, they go. Sometimes they stay for a little bit longer. And sometimes they're just there and they've gone. Corner of your eye, it's gone. You know you've seen something. But sometimes when it happens, it's not out the corner of your eye, it's in your full focus of where you're looking. If you're just looking into the darkness at a specific area, and let's say within a 10, 20-foot radius, you'll see it just comes on, and it's just, it's not your eyes playing tricks on you. There's just one particular little blink and off. And sometimes, occasionally, you'll see that there, and then you'll mention it, and then someone will see one. Let's say, for instance, if I saw one straight in front of me, and then Pete will say, I've just seen one, but on my left-hand side where he's been staring, not out your corner eye. And one of them, one particular time, must have been, I don't know, maybe only 10, 20 feet away from us, if that. The little sparkly thing kept popping up in the grass. And we all saw that.
I wonder sometimes if it's just like when we talked earlier about Jack seeing this light seemingly punch out of the cliff face, and then Amanda, before Jack's finished his sentence, she's saying she's seen it. I wonder if sometimes, when you say you've just seen that, and then Pete says it, or I say it, or somebody else, whether we're looking at the same thing, and it's almost like jumping about, because we know those lights over the sea, which seem to have dropped off now quite a bit, which, these things, I won't say go in fits and starts, but they will start again. But sometimes we'd see one orange orb, then it'd punch into a multiple of a few, disappear and appear in a different part of the sky. My gut feeling is it's the same thing. How it's moving from one leap, doing this leap, we had to seen it from one place to another. I don't know, but I feel like it's probably the same thing.
I mean, it potentially could be. I mean, Chris Mack said about, I know I'm going to go on it again, the night the light visited us. When he said he saw it on Pete's arm, he got the feeling, and how he looked at it, it was like it was fighting for energy. It was actually getting smaller and smaller. And I didn't see any blue glow, really, that I can definitely say it was a blue glow around it. It was mainly white for me. But how Chris described it, it was mainly white with a blue glow. And he said it was getting smaller and smaller, like it was struggling for energy. So possibly these little twinkles we see are there the start of something trying to grow. Who's to know? I mean, how can we know? And then possibly the bigger ones that we've seen, or can they even get even bigger, to the things that we see right up in the sky? I mean, when Carl was up here only last week, and Sarah, not long before we decided to go right above us in the heavens, Carl said, I think I've got something here. And he's filming it, and right above us, there was a little tiny twinkling star that I'm saying it's a star.
Ian, it weren't twinkling. It was going on, off, on,
yeah,
off.
Yeah. So it's there. And it went on for quite some time. You filmed it. Carl filmed it. It was directly above us. So, yeah, a lot of people could say, well, it's maybe a bit of space debris. That's just, let's say it's rotating. But it was static. And then eventually, it started to move. And then it got bright again. Then it went out. Then it was dim. Then it was gone. I mean, if it's space debris, it'd be moving all the time. It wouldn't be there static. And we can say it was static because where it was, I think it was in the plough. It was actually between two of the main features of the plough. And it was just there. And then, when I say twinkly, flashy little thing, and then it started to move and
I think Carl had done the same. I think I filmed it for 3 minutes. stationary, because I think everybody in chat will agree that you can look at some of the bright stars in the sky and you think that they're flashing different colours, and it's just I don't know, atmospherics and the way they're positioned in the night sky. But this thing was flashing on, off, and I filmed it for 3 minutes because I knew it was different, and I didn't think it was going to move, I must admit. So it's static, and then it just slowly moved away, which makes it more interesting. So yeah, what it was, possibly man-made tech, but fascinating.
And everybody who stood up there could see it. I mean, it wasn't just people who was looking at it through a night vision camera.
Oh yeah. And there were another occasion when myself and Ian, because sometimes there's probably 6, 7, 8, 9 people up there, but myself and Ian, we'd spotted a satellite moving bright, and it just stopped. Yeah. And just sat with stars and didn't move.
That was a few years ago now. We've talked about that on and off. Yeah, it was a weird one. Was that we just watched it slowly coming towards us, and we both said, "Wow, look at that! It's moving." Yeah, it is. And then it stopped, and it stayed in that position the rest of the night, didn't it?
Yeah, it was just there. It was just weird. For all intents and purposes, if you'd have looked up on a clear night, you can see in these unpolluted skies anyway. It's just a blanket of stars, and that's all it was. Do you know, years ago, and it must be 16 years ago, I went through to eldest daughter Sarah's night before she was due to give birth to grandson, and me and Mary went through and we sort of met up and sat with him for a bit, and I says to Sarah, do you fancy a run, just me and you for half an hour? And we got in. I've got my van, my works van. So we get in the van, and we drove to Osgerby, and we pulled in where car boot sale is. There's a bit of hard standing there. And we just got out, and I think I said something to her like, well, Sarah, this time tomorrow, you might have a baby. And we looked up in the sky. She'll remember this, and there were 2 brilliantly white stars. And I just went to Sarah, look at them. And they just literally just switched off. We both saw them. Yeah, I know it's nothing that, once again, we can sort of give any proof to you guys, but sometimes I just think some things are meant to be, and it was quite special, seeing them. Just, I don't know, interesting.
What did Chris show us on Chris Mitchell on Saturday? Absolutely. He showed us some footage that he'd taken, and he says, "This is in my back garden." So you don't necessarily have to be in the middle of nowhere. Just get yourselves outside and have a look, and you'll be amazed on a clear night what you can see and what's mooching about up there. Majority of it will be, it will be some sort of space junk or satellites or aircraft. But just occasionally you might be lucky enough and see something.
But you're spot on, because sometimes when we've seen things, or we go up there, we might go up there for 2 or 3 weeks and nothing happens, but we're having things happening around the home. Like you just mentioned Chris Mack, and he's got a PC with a little station. Never puts it on, he says, hardly ever. And on 2 occasions, his dad said, "Your computer's come on," and he's not even been in house, in property, and his dad's walked past or whatever, and his screen's been lit up, computer's on. Now, is that unexplained phenomena? Is it some glitch? As Chris forgot? It's hard to say, isn't it? But everybody's having little bits of experiences around their own homes that don't seem to add up as well.
I remember him telling us about that, and he says, but it's an older PC, I think, and it's a physical button that you have to press in. But the other thing that I find strange, and it's quite funny really as well, I mean, I shouldn't really laugh, but he said one morning he got up for work and he put his trousers on, and as blokes will do is you'll have to put your trousers on the back of a chair or something, let's say. You fly up, your zips down, your buttons are open and your belt's undone. He just put his feet in it, pulled his trousers up, and he nearly fell over because the button was up, the belt was fastened, and the zip was up. And he said, "Why would I put my trousers away like that? I wouldn't." So he just slipped them on like you would and nearly falls over.
But it's crazy, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
That almost sounds in realms of, I don't mean stupidity, but it's crazy to think that anything could do anything like that. But is it any more ludicrous than to suggest, like when Gemma had been on cliff tops and saw that white square with Bob and then said something growled behind her head, you know, and I'm sure, you know, there's well over 300 people here. I'm sure you've all had your own little bits of strangeness occurring. Some of you'll not have to go far. Some of it might be happening around your own homes. And, well, that's why you're here, guys. Let's just put this up, Chris. Lady Gaga, no one mentions the Earth Goddess. Could be behind all the orb sightings. Maybe they're her eyes up here. Oh, I don't know about that, Simon. Is she the Earth Goddess? I don't know. Do you understand that? I don't. I'm sorry if it passed me by.
No, I mean, if it's Lady Gaga, it's depending which angle you're looking at her in it, because every other time you see her, she's wearing something different or looks a totally different person. I mean,
let's have Dragonborn here. Good to see you, Dragonborn. What do you make of the uproar on the Patterson-Gimlin film evidently being proven fake? I believe there's a film due out. Yeah, have you heard about that? Because I don't know loads about it, Dragonborn, but apparently, yeah, it's been proven as a fake. Whether it's true or not, I don't know. I knew years ago that, and I'll not say who told me because it could be this film. I knew years ago that there was some more film from the Patterson-Gimlin film, absolutely, and I know who owns it, or who did own it. He's not with us now, but yeah, I don't know if it's fake. It doesn't. What do you think that means then, Dragonborn? I know you can't answer. Does that mean that a lot of people are going to throw even more doubt on the Bigfoot stroke, werewolf stroke, dogman phenomena? I don't think that they will. I firmly believe that these things are out there. But it would be a shame if it's proved to be a fake after all these years. And, you know, this man's stuck to this story, unless it's somebody out to discredit him. I don't know enough about it. But what do you think?
I mean, the way things go nowadays with all this AI type of thing, it makes you wonder what's real and what isn't real. So what's not to say that they are trying to discredit it, and by discrediting it, it brings attention to them, and you know they make some out of discrediting it. I mean, if it is genuinely a fake, then I think a lot of people, including myself, have been well and truly have been had by something that was created in the late 1960s. Yeah, it'll be a shame. But
it's interesting. It's interesting if it were. It just shows that there's everything's on the table, in it. There's potential for anything, because people have spent ages looking at the anatomy of this Patty as she walked and everything, and saying, like, the muscle movement, and you can see the flex. And then if it turns out, it just turns out that all these people have they've got it wrong as well. All the experts. Let's put this up, Ian.
And the flex would have been less if it had been wearing a bra.
Well, yeah, it depends what kind of bra it was, of course. But I don't think I've seen one in a bra. I think we'd have known it were a fake if they'd had a bra on. Evening, gents. I left the army in 2017 after 15 years. Countless times on Salisbury Plain, many of us have seen lights and large orbs moving all over the training area. I've got phone proof. I'd love to see that, Tom. And thanks for sharing that with us. My email address. It's my name, Paul Sinclair, ilf@gmail.com. If you wanted to share that, and obviously we'd put as little or none out, or as much as you'd allow us. That's fascinating. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting to see that.
Let's have a look. Trying to hide God the truth. Well, I don't know what we've got here. Benjamin Hollingsworth theories because they're trying to hide God the truth. Okay. So, Benjamin, I mean, we aren't getting too deep into religion. Do you think a lot of this is biblical? I know you're not going to have time to answer me, I don't think, but what do you think? I don't know.
I don't want to go there. I think keep religion out of it, because it can just stir up an hornet nest for some people, can't it? Yeah.
A question, Lee Roscoe. Paul, can you tell us what the new doc is about you were putting on with Chris Turner? This is going to be UFO related. And we've got some incredible accounts, and there's a really dark side to one of the stories. I mean, really, I don't even know if what this man described and the experience, I think it's too graphic to actually run with all of it. You know, we believe in truth and getting truth out there, but it really is graphic. But yeah, UFO related. And then I've got to kick that documentary into gear. What we started, me and Les started probably 18 months, 2 years ago. And I went through some of it week in week. And now I've got this out of the way because we've filmed too many people just to let it go. And so we'll be having a look at that as well. But UFO related this, and you know, I'll probably at some point we'll probably go through some of the accounts. Some of them I have done already. Let's have a look. Then obviously Ian's contributed to that as well, haven't you, Ian?
Yeah. There was some little bits and pieces. That'll be in that, and I suppose we'll just have to wait till it comes out and let people make their own minds up.
Absolutely.
Going back to the account, what you were saying about the chap that being graphic. I mean, I actually met that chap a couple of weeks ago while he was with filming with Chris. Yeah, it's it is very graphic, and it's
harrowing.
It is. It's the stuff from a horror film, really. I mean, you've got to believe the man. I mean, there's absolutely no reason at all, nothing to gain at all coming up. I mean, I shook his hand at the end of it. I said, you know, because thanks for telling us, and you could see it deeply affected him, and what he's seen and what he'd experienced. I ain't surprised it's deeply affected him, and you know what I mean. Grateful for him stood there on the cliff tops, you know, to a bunch of strangers, let's say, apart from you, telling us something that was horrendous.
No, deeply personal, and you know, obviously, and a real responsible sort of high-profile job as well. Not that makes his story any more truthful or to validate, but you know, it's an high-profile job that he's got as well, and he's telling his truth, and he'd sat on it for years, and you know,
I mean, parts of it, without doing any spoilers or anything, have got similarities to what happened at Hummanby.
Absolutely, yeah. There were little teasers and telltale signs that something big were going to happen. Of course, none of us would know if, God forbid, anything happened like that to me or you or anybody in chat. But you wouldn't know if those little teasers started in your home or around you today. You wouldn't know that it were going to culminate to that kind of terror. So yeah, you'll have to just wait for that one, guys, because Chris is going to have to deal with that and put it over in such a way, you know, he's been filmed now, put it over in such a way that it's not going to absolutely frighten the audience to death, but we shall see. I don't know if we've done this. No, I haven't. I took it off, didn't I? How about the minor unexplained? Not enough for a good story, but it seems a little odd. We had a letterbox rattle the other night. No one outside. Clearly not worth an investigation, but strange. It's interesting, though, isn't it? You know, first thing I'd say, and you're going to answer this because most of them have got a spring on back, and Ian knows this. You know, had spring on, and were there a bit of wind? Could it have been that? But you know your own property, and it's clearly rattled you enough to put that question in. I think that kind of things are fascinating, Rocky. I really do, and probably build up. I don't want to mean to something much bigger, but if it is true unexplained activity, you know, don't hold your breath. Something else might happen.
Yeah, again, I mean, is the letterbox? Is it in the middle of your door, centre of your door, at the bottom of your door? I mean, only this chap will know where it is, but it's obviously, pardon the pun, it's rattled him having his letterbox rattled.
Yeah, yeah, it has. Yeah. Oh, I love it when you tell jokes. Let's have a look.
Hey, Paul, how strong you are.
Yeah, well, I can't tell you. They'd all crack ribs laughing. But right, have either of you heard of Operation Bluebeam? I've heard of it. I don't know much about it, Tim. So you're not going to get much from me. The irony is that it is now on us to call out mainstream media government fakery. I've been trying to shed light on it. A genuine incident for years. Stay vigilant. Well, thanks, Tim, and we will do. Yeah. Let's have a look. Here we go. Can you explain why you keep standing on the edge of the cliffs? Well, Benjamin, I don't know what you mean. I know it's quite explanatory what you've just asked us, but we're there because strange things happen around those cliff tops of East and North Yorkshire. And that's why we go. And we're not on edge. We're not on some precipice where we're going to fall off. Am I right, Ian?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's most of where we go, there's a fence. There is a fence. And we're not in the habit of, and none of us ever have, climbed over the fence because that would absolutely be ridiculous.
But some of the fishermen do.
Well, I mean, that's exactly it. It's absolutely bloody ridiculous what we've filmed some of them. I mean, we filmed one of them with our film in Thermal a few months back. He climbed over if you remember what I was saying earlier on about the cliff edge, it slants over with a grass bank and then it drops away. A lot of it does. This guy had gone down this grass bank and his feet must have been only 2 feet away from the chalk. And then the end of the chalk is to about approximately 280, 300 foot drop into the sea or onto the rocks below. And he's there fishing. He's casting a fishing rod. And then he's leaning back and he's at a 30-degree angle. And I'm like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. But back to what we're saying about the question is there's a fence, there's a path, and generally we're on the path or further back. We're not right on the cliff edge.
And Benjamin, during the daytime, during the summer months, it's well, all year round it is, but there's nobody up there on a night. But it's a bird reserve, and you get hundreds and hundreds of people up and down that area. But it's just a weird. I'm maybe reading it wrong. Can I explain why? Have you not been listening to this live stream and the things that we've been talking about seeing on and around that area? So for me to answer you, that's why we stand on the edge of the cliffs or on the cliff tops, because there's the potential to see things of a strange and unusual nature, a lot more, in my opinion, than any other place that I know. So I hope that's answered it for you, Benjamin.
And the other thing is, as well, is one of the reasons why there is because we've seen on many occasions things in the sea, under the water.
Absolutely.
And I've managed to film some. You've managed to film quite a lot of things. So again, it's the best vantage point for us, and that's one of the reasons we do it.
That thing that zipped across on that film is crazy. So you'd have to look at that. It's a short film that I put on last night. This place is strange, or words to that effect. Strange things happen here. That's what it was, something like that. And whilst we're walking along the cliff tops, something does come in front of us. But I mean, we never saw it at times. People might say, oh, it's precipitation, it's your breath. We were on them cliff tops for 3 hours. You don't see 3 hours of breath venting from us. You just see it on 2 occasions. It's a little bit odd. I put it on, not making no claims that it's unexplained phenomenon. I don't say that. I leave it open to interpretation.
Whether that's something in the flash or it's your head and shoulders in the flash, and if it's yours, it's behind, whatever it is. That's
got to be behind me. Yeah.
Behind you. But again, it's stranger than he sees on another film. He showed us a small object. Says, keep looking on the right-hand side. And you see a little bit of movement on the right-hand side. But when he's slowed it down and he's gone into it, it's like I don't know, it's like a little cross type shape thing, like an X. That's there. You can see it. It's clearly there. So, I mean, he's you know what I mean? That's off to Chris. He's done well to get that. So, there's stuff unintentionally being caught on camera. And again,
he's got a sharp eye, and he looks for things in film. And like you say, that I'm walking on the cliff tops with the little camera. You guys are down on one that stands probably, I don't know, 300 or 400 yards away. And I'm talking to the camera as I do on my own. I'm saying, I'm going to go back down to the lads now. And I go, oh, there were a little flash there. I hope cameras picked it up. And that all I saw was literally a blink of light. And from that blink, I put it onto the editing program and can see that it goes white. I've sent it to Chris. And he's pulled all this out. He's not added anything to it, but he's managed to, like you said, there's a partial head and shoulders. can't be mine. I can't create my own shadow. It has to be behind me, that light, if it's me.
Yeah.
There's an orb in the grass. Now, we have got this. When we talk about, oh, it's just us talking and we haven't got the evidence, we have got this bit of film. So we'll show you this in, not necessarily next week, but we may show you that next week. So, yeah, that'd be good. So let's have a look. And let's what we got there. Thanks, the clean for I thought you were swearing, for keeping it clean so far tonight. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, all good, all good. Let's have a look. What's this, Christopher Withers? Have you tried to send out different frequencies to see if it tracks the lights? No, I'm not gonna say I have, to be honest, but I think it's a good idea. It'd be great to have. We've got Peter Masters, who's brilliant with electronics, but he's ill at the moment, and I've been up on cliff tops with Peter and trying to detect the 1.6 frequency, and we have detected it. We detected it near RAF base, filmed it, looking at his laptop, which he took up, and the equipment he'd made to get it. We got it on Rudston Monolith. Interestingly, we never got it. We got it once at Rudston, and we never got it again.
Got it again.
Yeah, it's strange.
Wait,
it's all...
We tried the singing balls, didn't we?
Yeah, yeah, we did.
You brought a singing ball up one time, and then I can't remember who it was. There was someone else brought 2 singing balls up, didn't they?
Mm.
And they was trying to do the singing balls, and then someone was on about an ultrasound sound generator.
Mm.
But apparently, part of this sound that it generates, he was quite giddy about it. He says, "Oh, it can be used supposedly for summoning demons."
Oh, that's not our thing, is it?
No, and straight away, me being me, I says, "You can off with that, no chance." So you'll bring that up. Coming up here.
I've got good reason for not wanting to use any specific sound tech up there or frequencies, and seriously, because there's at this time of year, particularly, there's nesting seabirds and things. You don't want them. Yeah. I'm not saying that it would upset the balance for them, but I wouldn't want to do that. I mean, we're limited with torches that we use and everything because we just don't. They're there. You know, they travel probably in some cases thousands of miles, and they don't want us disturbing them.
You don't know what effect it's going to have on them, do you?
No.
I mean, we're only limited to what we can hear. I think majority of animals can hear a lot of different frequencies than we can. It may freak them out and upset them. So no.
What we got here then? So, Paul, did you see my comment earlier today on your last video about the 2 military chaps around the RF Bempton buildings and the RSPB car? No, I must have missed that, mate. No, I'll have a look at the comment, and I'm assuming that you were there to see this because I've no knowledge of it, and I don't know. Yeah, I'll have a look at the comment and see what you got to say about that. Thank you. Craft crash being shot down. Let's have a look. We're just about up with time here, mate. Let's have a look, Tim. Which UFO contact case fascinates you both the most? I appreciate you have your own story, Paul, and it's probably that for you. I still, my own experiences, but I still think Hummanby just blows everything out of water. I really do, but I don't know about you, Ian.
I knew he was going to say Hummanby. I mean, my own personal experience is that back in my childhood when me and my brother saw that enormous orange sphere that came up from behind the clouds. I mean, that's been with me for, over 40 years now. Yeah, well over 40 years. Seeing as I'm only 14 mentally. Not even that, yeah. Well, something like that, yeah. Still got my baby hair, look.
Yeah.
But anyway, I suppose that for me, because it's, you could say other things that's very interesting, but I saw that with my own eyes and my brother saw it. What that was, I don't know. I'd love to know, or have an idea of what it was, because without going up to it and touching it, how would you ever know?
Yeah. I realise, guys, there's some questions that we haven't got through. There's plenty. I just want to finish on Fortian's question. Somebody's just mentioned your kitchen. I'll just read it. Linny's kitchen looks spick and span. How do you keep it like that? I think you've got a wife, haven't you, Ian?
I've got a very good wife.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
So-
she's sitting about 20 feet away from me that way.
So you didn't say anything else,
She
did
can
you?
throw things. She's a very good shot.
So, right, 40 and 23. I've got a couple of anomalies on the psionics during the day. At the weekend, from the viewing platform, dropped a short video through. Thank you. So that's Chris, that Ian.
Yeah.
So we shall have a look at that. So we're 9 o'clock, 2 hours of up. We've got loads of questions here, so I do apologise, guys, but yeah, that's our lot for tonight. I'm going to go back have a cup of tea. What are you doing rest at night, Ian?
Well, I'll have another non-alcoholic Guinness. Sit down, watch a bit of telly, and then go to bed, I think.
Right.
But,
go on then.
Yeah, just before you say that, it'd be nice for people if they come to Scarborough. We're open to say hello to everybody. I'm having an operation on my back on the Monday. I'm having a procedure on my spine on the Monday. The consultant said I should be okay. So all being well, I'll be there. But I doubt I'll be walking around, jumping up and down and doing cartwheels. But it'd be nice to see everybody on the thing at Scarborough that Paul mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the Scarborough Sci-fi Festival. And yeah, have a look on internet, guys. You'll find it, and have a look at what's on in Scarborough, and you'll be sort of leaded to where you could get tickets for it if you should want to go. As I say, I've sort of held back from participating for 10 years. So I just thought sci-fi, it's not really my thing, but they've given us a room, aren't they, where we can do our own thing. So if you want to talk UFOs and unexplained phenomena, we'll be there. Okay.
Lovely.
Right. Good night from me.
And good night from Mim.
Yeah. See you guys. Thanks, Ian. Take care. Is this an adventure or what? We don't need unexplained phenomena. I hope you guys are enjoying this journey we're taking you on. I know you come expecting to hear about big cats, cryptids, UFOs. We will touch on some of that, but I think it's worth sharing some of this with you, don't you? There's only 2 living souls up here today.
Because I can see it in my mind, I can see it in my head what I saw, but I can't describe.
Our eyes was closed, like a brightish light in my face, and I just felt paralysed.
Someone said there's something out there, so we had a look. It looked like a walnut. That's the only way I can describe it.
It was like it had loads of tiny little windows all over it, and it had lights in those windows, but not a light that illuminates.
Anyway, we were ushered into this lounge. This fella come in, he said, whatever you saw was a weather effect.
And everything is deathly silent. There's no sea, there's no wind, there's no night noise, because, there's foxes all over here. There's nothing.